Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a Dana 44 HD or a Dana 44A out of a WJ. Strong axle. If you got a Dana 35, you can swap in one of these. It'll bolt right in to get that 30 spline over the 27 spline axle shafts and carrier. This one in front of us here has a vari-loc carrier, so it's got that limited slip differential. Yours may have an open carrier, which we're going to show you in another video, swapping from a vari-loc to an open carrier so that you can run an actual lunchbox or a ratchet style locker instead of the limited slip. The limited slip holds up really well to like up to about a 33-inch tire, and then it really doesn't have the strength. So if you're going a little bigger than that, you might want to swap to an open carrier and go with an actual locker. But we're going to show you today what you can do to that vari-loc to get a little more pressure to hold longer, when you're on the trail. So these are pretty good axles. It's a 44. They get bad rap, aluminum housing. We've got diff skids for them to help with that. But overall, in our experience and on paper, these are very solid axles. If you've got a 35 in your ZJ or your WJ, I'd recommend going to the junkyard trying to find a 44A. Whether you're looking for the vari-loc or the open carrier, we'll show you what to look for when you pop that open to be able to tell the difference between the two. So we've got a carrier of each, so we can show you the difference. So let's pop that div cover and get that carrier out of there. We'll show you what we're working with. Normally, you're going to open this and it's not going to be this clean. I was questioning if it was new. I was told no. So this one's actually in really good shape. We're going to get that out of there, get it on the bench. We'll grab our open carrier, show you side by side.
For those who don't know how the vari-loc limited slip works, it's actually a pretty smart design as far as limited slip differentials go. Just like most limited slip differentials, it has a set of clutch discs that work to keep both axles spinning at the same speed. The vari-loc is unique because it operates as an open differential in normal daily driving, but it can automatically apply the clutches when slip is detected. This is important. Since the clutch discs are not always applied, they have a much longer service life, and the differential can automatically vary the pressure applied. This is where it gets its name, because it varies the lock or pressure on the clutches. When the vari-loc senses loss of traction, it pumps oil into the clutch housing, applying pressure to them to try to keep your Jeep moving. When the speed of each axle shaft equalizes, the pressure bleeds off, and it returns to operating like an open differential. It does this so quickly that it almost goes unnoticed by the driver. If your WJ has the quadra-drive option, these limited slips should be in the front Dana 30 and rear Dana 44A axles, as well as a similar version inside the NP 247 transfer case. On a dual-purpose daily driver that sees snow-packed streets and muddy trails, this differential is a great option.
So we've got an open carrier that camera guy and I went junkyard diving for last weekend. Camera guy's silver WJ, which you've seen in a few videos. He's running the vari-loc Dana 44 HD on 35s, and they're doing okay. He said when he was on 33s, it held up a lot better. It locked a lot better. Now it's slipping a little more than he would like.
You got no rear locker? Oh, okay.
In a later video, we're going to show you what it takes to swap in an open carrier, so without having to replace the entire axle, to go open carrier to put an actual locker in. So side by side, you can tell we've got a big open window. We can see all of our spider gears very easily. On the vari-loc, we got a smaller window. The housing is more squared off here where this is rounded, and then we got this splash plate up top here. So if you pop that diff cover open, should be pretty easy to verify if you've got a vari-loc or an open carrier. So again, we'll show you this in a later video. Just wanted to show you side by side. What we're going to be doing is we're going to pop this bearing off. We're going to take this splash plate off, and there's a check valve under here. And we're going to be modifying that check valve to give us a little more or longer pressure hold inside of our vari-loc to try and hold that 35-inch tire lock a little better. So we're going to get this bearing pulled off of here, get that plate off, and show you what we're working with. So for this plate here, we got to pull the bearing off to get that plate off. It's got 4 locking tabs all the way around. We just flatten those out so we can get our bearing puller on there. Where can we get a bearing puller? Parts store, Amazon, borrow from a buddy. Just tell them you got beer, they'll come running. It's coming. So the puller that we have for this wasn't quite the perfect size. We were hoping it would grab the whole thing, but ended up ripping the cage, getting all the rollers out of there. Not a big deal. We were going to replace the bearing anyway. Now we'll just take a die grinder. We're just going to cut the race, pop it off. So no big deal. We'll get that off, do what we got to do, and then we'll press a new bearing on. There we go. So we got her to crack. So now you can cut it on the other side and try and take it out in chunks, or pull it out however you want. But so we cut slow, don't cut into the actual carrier. It got to a point where I was really close and I actually heard it snap and it cracked all the way through. If it doesn't crack on its own, get it close, grab a chisel, smack it, it should crack there. Once pressure's off, she should just pop off. So as you saw, we were grinding and cutting over on the bench, trying to keep this as clean from all the debris as possible. We'll clean this housing out. We'll clean this off really well before we reassemble everything. But once you got that the sleeve off, that'll pop right out. And what we're working on is this little tab here. We're going to take these 2 little Allens out. There's going to be a spring and a little check ball valve in there. So we're going to do a little modification under there, put it all back together. So I got to find some really small Allen wrenches. So there's 2 little set screws holding this flat plate down, and then we got that check ball. So as this builds pressure, that ball will push up, open the flap, and let the pressure bleed off. We can't tell you what size the Allen is because we couldn't find one, so I just made one. Do whatever you got to do to get them out. If you absolutely cannot get them out, all you really got to do is bend this flap up so you can get access to that ball, because this really isn't going to matter anymore. So now on to what we're going to do here is we're going to take that ball out, and this is where you can get creative. You can tack weld that hole shut. You can JB weld it shut. You could peen the ball and smash it in there, whatever you got to do to make sure that that will not bleed off pressure. So as this builds pressure and holds pressure, it won't be able to bleed off quickly. It'll still be able to back bleed, so there's not a huge issue there. Camera guy's been running his like this for years, but that's why we're going to a true locker now. So whatever you got to do, not sure how we're going to do it just yet, but when we figure that out, I'm probably just going to tack weld it shut so we don't have to worry about a ball coming loose or anything like that. But whatever works for you, works for you. So we'll get that done, and we'll get this thing put back together and move along. So we taped off our bearing surface, capped over it with some tube, brake cleaned everything. These 2 screw holes are a pass-through, so they could potentially bleed off. So we're just going to tack weld all 3 shut and not worry about it again. All right, so we are all welded up. We got our sling plate back in there. We need to get a bearing for this. Thought we had one here, but we don't. When you go to reinstall this, make sure this flat surface of the sling plate is facing down. These 2 tabs will sit in here up against the housing like that. Just make sure that's like that. Slap it all back together, hit the trail. I think intern Charlie, we're gonna try and convince him that this is the axle he needs to run for his WJ project. He's got 32s right now. Slap one of our diff skids and clean all this crap off and put a LubeLocker in and good to go. So This is the only mod that I know of for this diff for the vari-loc. So if you guys know of any other tips, tricks, or modifications you can do to it, drop a comment, let me know. I'm always willing to learn and figure stuff out on the trail. So not everything we do here is, you know, perfect to a T. We gotta make mods work sometimes too. So drop a comment, subscribe, let us know what you guys want to see. Thanks for hanging out.